Trump is cleaning up the Department of Justice by firing prosecutors, most of them involved in the J6 witch hunt of protesters. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. This is part of Trump going in and cleaning up the Department of Justice, which is under the executive branch. So he's allowed. Democrats are going to suddenly say, you can't do that. It's supposed to be an independent agency. An independent agency would just mean that it's under no one's control and no one's ability to control it. And that's what's really shocking. Watch this. Okay, here's our first article. This is over at PBS, Public Broadcasting, thankfully no longer funded by our government. January 6 protesters says firing of investigators, Trump's pardons, sends dangerous message. So this is seen as dangerous. Okay. The Justice Department has fired several officials involved in the J6 criminal prosecutions, and others have been demoted to low-level positions. They're the latest moves that some say are part of a retribution campaign against anyone who worked on the investigation. We're going to get more news, more incredible stuff that shows how crooked these prosecutors were. White House correspondent Laura Ben Lopez spoke with Greg Rosen, one of the prosecutors that led the case. Instead, I'm going to go to this interview. This is Julie Kelly with her take, who we really dig. For years, Patricia Hartman, this is going to interview one of those fired people, is Patricia Hartman, churned out near daily press releases to boast about indictments, convictions, and sentencings in January 6th cases. Her handiwork created national and local coverage of J6ers, fueling hate against them and endangering their safety. Because she's going to come on this show over here on CBS and say, I was just a publicist. I was not a political person. No, she was taking a side on this whole thing. Pam Bondi fired her last month, and now she wants sympathy. Hartman arguably did more damage to the lives of J6ers than did prosecutors or judges. Her filing should only be part of the price she pays, her firing. Also note how her fellow J6 propagandist Scott McFarland brags about Department of Justice's 100% conviction rate on J6 jury trials without realizing the point that we're making about rigged process. That is the conclusion of this whole thing. Watch this.
Hired this week. As CBS's Scott McFarland reports, she is one of several officials terminated since last month, all tied to the January 6 insurrection prosecutions.
Patty Hartman spent nearly 20 years serving the U.S. Justice Department, a civil servant who loved the mission.
I am not political. I do not serve a president or a party. I serve the American people.
The mission.
That's what every Democrat says, by the way. They're like, unlike the MAGA, I'm not political. I just think Trump needs to go to jail because no one's above the law. Other than we invent all these cases and invent evidence and slander our enemies, I'm not political.
Was cut short Monday when Hartman was fired by a letter from Attorney General Pam Bondi.
It's hard to understand why or how it's okay to remove people from their job for doing their job.
You posted that we're driving straight toward an abyss. What do you mean?
The rules don't exist anymore. The laws don't seem to exist anymore.
No, the Democrat laws don't exist anymore. The Democrat ones where you guys were operating your little slither campaign, a different boss is in town. Look, when the Democrats were in charge, you ran the Democrat Department of Justice, and we saw exactly what you did in those 4 years, inventing cases, multiple cases against Trump through Jack Smith, through him colluding with Fani Willis, which, all that, I haven't seen any new news on Fani Willis, Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, all that corruption, and Jack Smith especially.
Hartman is the fourth person fired since early June who helped work the largest prosecution.
Okay, wait, hold on. They've only fired 4 people. You know how big the government, the Department of Justice is? There are thousands and thousands of people who will never be fired because it's a permanent state job. This lady was just one publicist, one of 4 people that they fire. And this is like massive national news on CBS. You know what I mean? There's more people who got fired this week at the local Kinko's down the street than in the Department of Justice. And they should be gutting that Department of Justice of like half its employees should be canned if it were truly Republican political, which it's not.
In American history, the prosecution of Trump supporters who stormed the U.S. Capitol and beat police officers January 6th.
Help! That's their favorite clip, is that cop right there was the shot around the world. It's their only evidence that they have that a policeman. We just now showed another video of ICE agents getting bricks thrown at them and bricks thrown at their cars, which is 1,000 times worse than this. And this is just a guy crushed like at a rock concert.
But Hartman's case is different. She wasn't a prosecutor or an FBI agent. She was a public relations administrator, sending out her boss's news releases and helping with the content for a website and database of January 6 cases, which the Trump administration has taken offline.
There used to be a line, there used to be a very distinct separation between the White House and the Department of Justice, because one should not interfere with the work of the other.
No, it absolutely should. And it absolutely does. Because even when she was working, it was the White House that was calling all the shots. The Department of Justice was just so full of Democrats that they didn't even need their marching orders. They knew exactly what to do with their power against Trump and against patriots, because they had to build up this case to make Trump into an insurrectionist, was their sole legal goal. And they were just they had to create a case. They thought it was their political job. Protect Biden, get Kamala Harris elected, knock Trump out of the election.
Here with the work of the other.
You think that line's gone?
That line is very definitely gone.
The other three recently fired officials were prosecutors who helped the agency secure a perfect 100% conviction rate.
Okay, now that is the biggest own of them all. Who in the world against like 700 or 1,000 cases gets a 100% conviction rate? That's proof of politics. That is not proof of justice in the Department of Justice. That is a department of, those are Praetorian guards. Those are government big brother apparatchiks used to persecute American citizens. This is nuts. How they can say, and CBS is saying this as some kind of credibility, going like, this is how good they were. This is how non-political and effective they were. They had 900 cases that were supposed to be neutral, and they all 100% conviction rate. Dude, you don't understand what that proves. That's terrifying. Okay, I'm going to go over to this final. Click over here. This is over USAID firings, because this really falls under the category of all these government firings by the Trump administration. Former USAID employees admit they're using color revolution tactics to oppose MAGA. They're using the CIA to sabotage plans, underground networks, and calling for nationwide
from
fright.
Notice. This isn't War Room. This is a direct quote. The story titled, "Trump fired them. Now they're plotting to stop him." And I guess we'll continue with the no paraphrasing, just directly quoting, because it's so diabolical. Quote, USAID and the State Department are now reapplying the skills and knowledge they built up over decades to undermine Trump's power. Now this piece...
Okay, just look at that headline again, that they've been working on this. The State Department officials worried about the future of democracy in America say they're actively organizing to resist Trump inside and outside of government. In this article, they say how they've been working against his campaign, some of them for 10 years, from inside the government. And now when USAID gets canned and gutted, they're now this underground campaign to work against him. That would include hackers. It would include disruption campaigns. You're getting a look into a secret political underground force against Trump.
This goes on, extensively reported, several quotes, several officials anonymous and on the record, including people who are currently employed by the federal government, getting your taxpayer dollars working.
Yeah, your taxpayer dollars inside the government. They're working right now against the Trump campaign.
Under President Trump, as saying, quote, get ready for this. They were so quick to disband USAID, the group that supposedly instigates color revolutions, but they've done a very foolish thing. You just released a bunch of well-trained individuals into your population. If you kept our offices going and had us play solitaire in the office, you might have been safer to keep your regime.
So that's a threat where they said, if you just left us alone, you might have been safer. So now they're implying because they're there and that underground category is there, Trump is in more danger. These people are getting violent. We're calling it that this is getting organized now. You're going to see them sprue out more and more violent, more hoping a lunatic goes and takes the good guys out. What do you guys think? Does something else happen to Trump this year? Will you pray with me for the president's safety? Even if I have Democrats in my audience, will you pray for the president's safety? I'm Doug in Exile.